this is on down,
Down
past,
Pennyworth?
kind of across from the water
Oh.
tower, the new water.
Oh, yeah. It's,
Yeah.
it's Whitestown Crossing.
Oh, okay,
stuff
it's
that
just
they're doing.
warehouses, okay.
Well, let's go ahead and call tonight's Whitestown Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. It is 7:06 on Wednesday, April 19th. And roll call, please.
Becky out of here?
Susan Austin.
Jim Cunningham?
If everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So welcome, everyone. And did everyone get a copy of the meeting minutes to review from January 17th and February 13th?
I don't think I got a copy.
Okay, then I'll send this copy.
Sorry,
down
they were on,
this
I
way.
always forget there. I put them
So we'll
online
just-
a while ago, and I should have printed them out for you.
We'll let everybody have a chance to read them, and then we'll vote at the end of the meeting.
When I send you the, when I, yeah, okay. When I send the agenda,
Okay, so those are the originals.
when I
that
send it
we'll
to you
sign.
all, when it went out in public notice,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
there are blue links in the agenda. You click on those and you'll get all the documents.
Oh, okay.
All right, that's okay.
That's
It's,
okay.
Didn't do it.
all right.
Okay, so we have public here today, and we always give a chance for our public to speak on anything we're not already talking about tonight. So if there's anything somebody wants to add before we get started, please let us know, and we'll talk about it now, or we can do it as we go through the agenda. Okay. Okay. Well, I want to welcome Janice and Mike here, and please, as we go through it, be happy to have input too. So our first item of unfinished business is to discuss the historic district expansion map, which we have a copy, and are there any extras?
Everybody should have one.
We don't have any. I don't need.
I don't think there's any other than the 5 that you all have.
Well, here, Jim and I can share.
Yeah.
There's no copy machine in here.
And the reason we're discussing is we wanted to make sure that we were including all the areas that would be relevant to this commission, so that we maintain
As long have you seen the
an
agenda?
ambiance and
What's wrong with you?
a standard for the area that we want to call historical preservation, and to help maintain as well the integrity of the homes that are here. I printed it at the office, so the map we have here pulls out from this, it takes out Walker Park.
Walker Farms
Walker
completely.
Farms completely, and it covers areas that were in that Worth Township annexation, voluntary annexation that happened.
So it takes out the Horseshoe, it takes out Harvest Park, it takes out Walker Farms, and
I
then
thought we were gonna take out Amazon too.
I think it goes along
we did.
the creek here and then comes down.
Sorry, the red goes along
Oh, the red line,
Fishback Creek and,
Okay.
yeah, takes out.
So that's the area then it goes.
I got
What is this blocked out area?
Walker Farms should be included because it still has the silo there, which is part of the old Gould farm. And Goulds were pretty instrumental in the town itself when it was first established. So I think that should be,
You could take that one parcel and add it in. You don't want to add any of the Walker
But
Farms
if
homes
it's-
in.
Is it contiguous to anything?
Doesn't have to be,
Doesn't have to be?
no.
Then we can add the silo in there.
it would be something of historic.
I'm not sure with the HOA we would have any.
You would. What they'd have to do is if they did anything with it, they'd have to come to you first. Now, if it's deemed structurally unsound, there's nothing you can do about it. It's probably not going to be the horseshoe.
The horseshoe.
It's probably not going to get a note. It's not going to get any kind of. It won't be a contributing structure, but it may get some recognition. So,
What is the area north of Alliance Club?
the horseshoe, the horseshoe, the horseshoe. County Road 225, the horseshoe. 1970s and 80s homes. No reason for it to be deemed historical.
I believe those homes were built in the 50s and 60s.
Some of them were. A lot of the 50s and 60s homes are now gone. There's been infill. We looked this up. What you don't want to have to do is put that in a historic district, and every time somebody comes to replace their windows in the horseshoe, they have to come see you.
I'm not talking the horseshoe, I'm talking continuous from the Lions Club. That strip that's in front of the Lions Club?
Is in this map.
It's only excluding the horseshoe.
Okay, I didn't hear, I thought he said excluding that area.
No, excluding the horseshoe.
Are the only two things excluded within this area?
Correct. I mean, Harvest Park is not in that map. The reason why there's dash lines is those areas are in the middle, and so you just take it out of the middle. You don't add any of those parcels into the historic district. Eventually, you'll want to create a district to protect the Howard School in the southern portion of town, but it's not technically. That annexation goes into effect in early 2019, so.
Which schoolhouse?
The Howard School,
Howard School's over in Perry Township.
It's,
and in part of the town of Whitestown.
It is now?
Yes.
Okay, well, the other school would be south, would be that Schooler School, and it's destroyed over there. But there is another schoolhouse, you know, that's on 300. That has not been destroyed, and there's also one on 700.
Which would be included in this map.
included in here.
Where on 300?
McCloskey's live in it? You know where McCloskey's live? They sold it. Probably know.
That's Zionsville.
Yeah, that's Zionsville, so it wouldn't
That's
be
Zions.
wouldn't be in our jurisdiction anyway.
Well, it would be our school. It was for Whitestown School.
It doesn't matter. The parcel is in the town of Zionsville, and this Whitestown
So we
Historic
don't-
Preservation Commission has no jurisdiction over it.
Okay, then, so the other one's probably in Zionsville too. Because it's on 700 and, I don't know, Parker Smith Place, you know what I'm talking about? Where Parker Smith lived, where,
If it's on County Road 700 East, the entirety of County Road 700 East, with the exception of about a quarter of a mile, is in the town of Whitestown now. And on that map.
Not Hoover's.
on past, you know where Mrs. Cox used to live? Okay, on the right-hand side, right there in the corner.
What are the yellow items on the map?
Yellow items.
What are those things that are in yellow?
It says,
Town properties? Is that the sewer plant?
Yep.
right there. 200 and 700. And I know his name, I know you know him. I'm thinking he might have sold school at one time.
Essex?
It'll come to me.
Well, if it's on the.
If it's on the
or
southwest
southwest,
corner of 700 and 200, it's in
200 is
Whitestown. If it's
Whitestown.
in on any other corners, it is not.
It would be there.
Okay. Then it would be in this area, so,
So it's included.
Correct.
so
I
that's,
just want to make sure everybody realized that that was one of the old schoolhouses. Monty.
Robertson, I'm okay. I tried to buy that.
Yeah, you remember it's an old schoolhouse.
okay. Does this look,
And the other one would be here in town, which would be the Hilltown, property I call it. I don't know who owns it now.
does this look like, this is the area we want to try to use as our guidelines for this group?
Do you know that cities and, not cities and towns, I'm sorry, in years ago. They made a pamphlet, and it's got all the things earmarked.
We do, we have all that, we have that with all the contributing structures.
Yeah, that was Indiana Historic Landmarks that did all the surveys.
I
So-
belonged to both of them at the time.
So we want
Fine.
to make sure we don't, also try to make sure we don't lose anything else that could become one of those landmarks that we should be paying attention to. So,
Well, the map is basically what we discussed at the last meeting. You've just gotten it all laid out.
You'll lose some parcels in there because there's some pretty major housing developments that are about to be put in front of our plan commission that are on some of those parcels, and when they get built, I'd suggest you take them out. But until they do, just leave it in.
Does this include you guys were talking about some cemeteries or graveyards?
It does.
it does.
Included in
Yeah, McCord's is in there.
There's only two in Worth Township. One of them would be the McCord that they're talking about destroying now. And the other one would have already, has been destroyed, which is adjoining her property.
I didn't do it.
Are the two gravestones still out there along?
The three, the schooler kids,
On that left side, yeah.
those would be in the town of Zionsville, and construction trucks are getting way too close to them.
That side of the road? Because Max, oh,
Maxon is not in Zionsville.
you're right, because that corner, I know, I had those kids that lived in that corner house at here at Zionsville, you're
It's
right.
part of
Just
it's
realized
part of the disannexation a couple years ago that Whitestown did. That we won't go there.
Prairie Township splits there.
Okay.
Right, through there. So basically this map, and then we're gonna include the silo, or we're gonna add the.
Yeah, we can add the silo parcel.
Okay.
It's just something of interest. I mean, if you're gonna do a tour, you might as well mention that one.
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept the map as presented with the exception of the silo being added at a later date.
Okay, what are we accepting?
So you are making a recommendation to the council because they have to pass the ordinance. So the council are the ones that designate the area. You are making a recommendation to the council, which is what you were doing.
We don't prepare and present an ordinance to the town council?
Ordinances are only the responsibility of the town council.
I know they approve it,
You,
but we don't.
you present the map.
review it?
We present the map
A
to it.
recommendation.
You present a recommendation of the map. Only the town council,
Expand the area.
correct.
Mike, what were you saying?
So seeing this laid out, I'm concerned about the size of it, considering we started off, it was just gonna be the legacy core, now we're making it this huge area. And we haven't even defined the standards that are gonna apply to all these people. So we're getting ready to subject these people to whatever standards we develop. And we're not even putting the standards out there to get their opinion. Is this something you would be interested in being a part of, or is there gonna be objections to it?
Well, there are multiple studies that show even the designation of being an historic district, if you live in a historic structure, increases your property value. So just the designation is a positive. The standards are, at the point where standards kick in, remember, is when you want to do a full-scale remodel of that structure. So do we need architectural standards? Yes. Can we define the area prior? I would suggest that you do.
But if we define the area now, and then develop the standards, mail a list of standards out to these people, and it's too late for them to come and say anything about it or voice any objections, opinions.
I would disagree. It's
No,
gonna take
because
us
you
a
don't,
long
because
time
you don't
go
have
through
to
the
have,
standards.
right, you don't have to have standards in a historic district. You could just say, go ahead and remodel. We don't mind. The first point of a historic district is to protect the structure from being demolished. That is the number one reason you create a historic conservation district, so that you don't lose these structures. Secondary is if you want to, when they get remodeled or rehabilitated, have a say in the process, then you could always just say, to the council, the town council, and to a petitioner, we're just happy that you're even fixing your structure up.
But until we have standards or guidelines, we're pretty toothless, aren't we?
Not for protection, you're not. So remember, the number one, 80% of the reason you do this is to protect your structure from being torn down. That's 80% of the reason you're doing
No,
this.
we've not adopted any rules, any guidelines, any.
Well, the rule's already in place of demolition. They cannot demolish a structure in a historic district without coming to you for their approval, for your approval first. That already exists.
Because it's a state.
That's part of the state statute. It's part of the ordinance as written for the Historic Preservation Commission. Correct. Now, for the architectural standards, I mean, there's really no hurry to do this. For the architectural standards, like I said, you could just say, we really don't have a desire to set any of those. You could say we have a desire to set them when regarding siding, windows, and maybe roof, parapets, and things like that. That's pretty easy to say. You can't put vinyl windows in a structure that's contributing. You can't put vinyl siding on a structure that's contributing, but I think all of us in the room would agree that the Kent McGinnis home looks 900,000 times better with the vinyl siding than when it didn't have vinyl siding.
But we haven't said it.
Correct.
So until we say it and we pass it, it's not a standard we can enforce, is it?
Well, it's kind of six of one, half dozen of another. Unless you know that you're in an area where people are looking to maintain and protect, you're not gonna pay any attention to any standards either.
You're not in a hurry here. I mean, I don't think there's any structures in danger of being demolished. You could always come back at your next meeting and finalize standards, and those could be, like I said, as simple as merely just saying that if your home built in 1800s, 1900s has wood sash windows, that's what you have to replace it with.
Well, I understand that, when we get there, but we're not there yet, are we?
Now, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that
We gotta get here
We
first.
have to define where the area,
I'm just wondering,
but
I'm just asking.
we're going to have to
Even
go
when we define the area, do we have any discretion there?
yes, from the perspective of
That gives us that,
demolition, yes.
right, demolition.
and then we have to work as a group through what do we want or what do we not want
Right.
as part of those standards, and those, of course, would be public meetings for people to weigh in on.
Right. Well, I guess
Right.
I'd like to see us get a timeline going for doing that. You know, we've been together a while, we really haven't accomplished much, so, you know, I hate to pass this and then a year from now, still not have standards. I'm not opposed to creating the district, I'd just like to see us get some kind of timeline going.
It's your board. It's up to you.
We can absolutely do that. What do you guys think?
If we have standards, I can see, like, I know I'm a prime example, that house in front of me, somebody can come in, and I'm assuming if they buy it, they want to take it down and build something new, they come before us, we give permission, as long as we see, I guess, a plan, they would have to show us what they're going to do, or would they
They'd
not?
have to have approval for demolition too.
Yeah.
That would be,
You can't do anything with the interior, and you really can't do anything with the landscaping. The only authority you have is to stop a demolition and to deal with what we call the items in the public view. So items in the public view as related to the structure are the outside walls, the windows, and the roof. So that's,
so that'd be the only reason maybe to have some standards would be on those
Right,
items.
for architectural design.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I know that we had discussed that we would look at each of the different time periods individually so that we could, we weren't saying, okay, if you already have, you've already remodeled and doing some of this, then
You're not going to tear it out.
you're not gonna tear it
and
out
redo
and
it.
have to redo it. However, if you do it at another time, then you try to go back to.
In other words, they're grandfathered in because they've already got this accomplished.
yeah, you could also say that if you do a remodel or a rehabilitation, you have to bring it back to as it was originally built. Now, that would have cost Kent McGinnis and Kip more money than what it would be worth to put into it. So you've kind of tied their hands at that point.
Right.
And I think we would all agree that that house is now much more valuable to all of us.
Exactly.
Would we love to have seen it go back to slatboard siding? Absolutely. No doubt. Fix the original brick, make sure all the original windows are there. You bet we would. One across the street they're putting in tremendous amounts of money into.
Right.
Good for us, because those sat.
It's gonna look great.
But if you would have said to the greenhouse, our standard are, you've got to come in front of us and we've got to approve that you're going to bring this structure back to what its original build materials were that were used, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to buy this.
Right.
I'm going to do this. So you have to determine the trouble herein lies the trouble. What's okay for you to do vinyl siding? But it's not okay for you to do vinyl siding, because we think it's going to be cheaper for you to do vinyl siding, but this one really is okay to have vinyl siding because we want it to be better off than what it is now.
Quite a dilemma.
That's the dilemma that you face when you set in motion architectural standards. We could write the ordinance, I believe, to state that the only thing they have to come in front of you for is demolition. That's it. Is that a wise move? I'm not sure if that's a wise move or not.
I'd hate for somebody to leave a structure until it is to the point of demolition because of that.
Right.
May I interrupt here? Isn't there some money that you can get to help finance those people to bring it back to standards if they're willing to do a remodel? I know they talked about doing it back when I was.
No. So there's a state historic tax credit program that's about 25 years behind right now.
Right, that's about how many years I was there.
There's a federal historic tax credit program that's about 10 years behind right now, and it's really designed for taking a substantially large commercial structure and putting a lot of money into it, such as the Stutz building in downtown Indianapolis. Woodard Turner got some historic preservation tax credits. Tax credits are not capital up front. That does not put money in your pocket to do all the work you need to do. That's really for somebody that has millions of dollars in their pocketbook, and it's a tax break for them. There are no grants out there that's a myth that doesn't really exist. There's a grant program out there for me to buy a house and historically preserve it. Very similar, there's very few grants out there for me to start a business. I hear that all the time in the office. They really don't exist. So, yeah, there's historic tax credit programs. They're underutilized, they're underfunded, and they're very hard to take advantage of.
So it sounds to me like you're saying we need to really keep this fairly broad or vague in that respect. Otherwise, we can get ourselves caught into a situation where, I don't know, could we be sued because we allowed one group to use vinyl siding and we said no to a guy down the street?
It could be.
Right, but it seems like being specific and saying you have to use materials that then you're not allowing one to do something that another can't. Does that make sense?
It does, but I'll guarantee you right now, you're gonna, if you get too specifically strict and you say that only wood slat siding can be used on an exterior if you want to refurbish one of these homes, it's not worth it to somebody. And you're gonna lose that rehabilitation opportunity. And if you're gonna say that vinyl siding is okay, this is where the purist historic preservationist gets caught with the economic development historic preservationist. So they don't mix real well here. If you go to the Secretary of their Interior Standards for Historic Preservation, they pretty much say if your house looked like this in 1910, When you come to us and ask for us to rehabilitate it in 2017, it better look like it did in 1910 when you're done. And that's going to cost a lot of money. I mean a lot of money. So you have to determine, do you use the Secretary of the Interior's historic preservation standards? Do you use a version of them? Do you just say that we're a group that's creating historic districts to protect structures from being demolished? That's it.
Well, I hope we're more than that.
So I agree.
And I would hope with infill that we have the ability to, we'll have influence so that we don't have more modulars coming in and just sitting awkwardly and.
I have to re-look at the statute. I don't think you have any opportunity to have any influence over an infill
No.
project.
I'm sorry, we don't have opportunity.
Over an infill project.
So
We don't?
No.
Why are we capturing all this undeveloped land?
Well, if you want to just take parcels out and just do houses, that's fine. You can do just parcel this thing up and just put in front of the council 15, 16 different maps.
So if we're not affecting infill, as an example, my house falls in this. Shed in my backyard's old, it's in rough shape, I need to tear it down and build a small pole barn.
Probably because your house is going to be a non-contributing home into the historic district. So it will not be a historic structure. Well, let's just pull you out. No. What I'm saying is you can either do a broad swath for historic preservation, or we can just start taking parcels out and do Zentango Farms. We can say that, you know what, Zentango Farms is contributing, so let's go ahead and put it in there. Let's save it. Let's save the Walker Farm silo. Let's save the what's the name of the yellow farm? I can't remember that. Is that the McCord farm? Isn't that the McCord farm?
right.
So the whole farm, we can say, you know what, whole farm, definitely, certainly contributing. The Legacy Corps has houses that are, and a whole bunch of houses that need to just go, that are not contributing. So you could take those out, and like I said, you'd give the council a map, you give the council 40 maps. Here's 40 maps of 40 different parcels for your historic district.
You have, 4 houses, I wanna add this one thing about it, because my mind's on Pierce Street, as you're on the, going over the old railroad track, on the left-hand side. One house has already been, you might say goofed up, because they put brick on it. But the little blue house that's 2 doors down, and what I call the Wilson house, where Alma's mother and dad used to live. I think Wilson, probably don't remember him either.
Is that white one?
It's where Andy Fox lived.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
those houses are significant, real significant, because they were moved from the center of town and moved to that location. That they were moved with horses. And then you've got, I mean, there's other houses that I've made studies on, like the one Noe Burkett lived in. It's been turned, a whole quarter of a turn. And we have several other houses that's been moved. I can, name you several of them that might be in this district. So that's some other things to consider when you're looking at it, because when you look at an old map, those houses aren't there. And of course, the one David Jackson lived in, it was moved from the center of town to there. And that's a real significant one, because that belonged to Dr. Ross. So there's some of those that you really need to put, you might say that start off with maybe some real, teeth in it, because those are your historic homes there.
I guess that's what I lose sight of, that we're really just about preserving the old, not managing the new.
You're not the plan commission. You're correct.
Yeah, we won't have anything to do with it.
That's what they're for.
And some of the houses you look at, you think, well, they aren't that significant, but the one that, I can't think, Dave Fulton lives in, for instance,
metal plate.
They've got numbers on them, and then you get you an old Sears catalog that shows those houses and see if yours, but I'm sure that yours is a Lawford house, and they were all
Yeah.
crafted.
Yeah.
You know, that's the Lawford houses, of course, the one that your grandma used to live in, I can't think of their name now, they used to be David, what's his name? Well, huh? No, I'm great-grandparents. That's an old house, but it's been redone. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Here's what you can do.
Pick out
The
the
UDO could be rewritten so that infill in the legacy core is different than infill anywhere else. That can be done. Lauren can develop a standard. Lauren can develop a standard that states that if you have an infill project in the legacy core, it must also be approved. I'm pretty sure she can do this. It must also have the approval of the Historic Preservation Commission. I am almost certain that the lawyers can write the ordinance of the UDO to make that work, because what you don't want to have happen, and I can't remember if the Indianapolis Historic Preservation Group approved the massive Browning project in Broad Ripple on the canal. I know the Metropolitan Development Organization had to approve it. I don't think Historic Preservation approved it, and obviously that infill does not mix with the historic village of Broad Ripple and the tiny bungalow homes that make it up.
place doesn't. You know, I'm thinking Zionsville has similar to what we're trying to do when they first started their historical sites. You know, you can't go over in Zionsville in certain areas without doing it right. You might be able to get a hold of Zionsville to see.
Well, that's Zionsville's planning standard. You can't do that. You can't build it. You can't do something in our core without doing it right either. You can't build a house with. There are standards for building a home in infill.
You can't buy a lot in Zionsville and just put up any kind of house you want.
Right.
$200,000 house can't be built there unless it meets the historical standards.
Go ahead, Dex.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that their Historic Preservation Commission does that, but I'll check.
Yeah, I don't know if they have, but I think that their subdivision control and,
You're-
zoning ordinance may.
Yeah, the planning, through
That's
planning.
that's right. So that's what I mean by in our UDO, that we change the subdivision control for the legacy core to make it a little bit different. Zionsville, for the village, their subdivision control is a little bit different than, now there are homes going up right now that don't fit necessarily the historical integrity, if you will, of what was the village. Yes, they're,
Yeah, they just don't
yeah,
fit,
you're right.
so.
So, I mean, it can wait. I gave you a map based on what I heard you all talking about in the last couple of meetings.
Yeah, now that I have my head straight that we're about historical buildings and not at this point, not new buildings, that, yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, I just lost Jess, but we had a motion then.
Should we wait for Jess?
Oh, yeah, we need to.
Yeah.
Can't make a motion with her.
There was one house on Main Street of Zionsville that a guy bought and wanted to build. He wanted to redo it, and they would not give him permission. He built an entire house inside it and then tore the old house down. Oh, my gosh. It's one there on the, be the
Oh,
north
is that
end.
the big yellow one on the north side of the street?
Here's
It's on the
something
north end.
shocking to
Yeah,
me.
it's on the north end.
My neighbor, my next door neighbor, bought that house and sold it. And they live in Florida most of the time and have a house next to me.
Here's something surprising to me. Zionsville doesn't have a Historic Preservation Commission.
Hence, that's probably why the old lumber yard pretty much got taken out. Because there's not much of it left, is there, if anything?
Which one?
The old lumber yard, was it Swiggett? Yeah, Swiggett's.
So they do not have the group that we have.
I know when
Zionsville does not have the group that we have. They do not have a Historic Preservation Commission.
Yeah.
Okay, can you repeat the motion?
Okay, the motion I made was to accept the map as we see it with the addition of the silo plot.
With the addition of what?
The silo at Walker Farms.
Which is where?
In Walker
In Walker
Farms?
Walker
Farms.
Farms.
Oh, the silo.
The old
I'm
silo.
sorry, the noise bounce right, sound, I don't hear very, not hearing very well. Okay.
But they're gonna have to get the legal description of
Yeah, for that.
that section that's on.
Do the areas not have to be contiguous?
No.
No.
So if, once you get that in the drawing, anything in there, then
Anything.
you can add on to that, is the way I understand it.
Well, and by doing it this big, if there is something that becomes significant, we've
Right.
already got it
It's
included.
included, yeah.
So, but this is our recommendation to the town council for adoption of this map as our,
And then they still have to
Historic.
approve it too.
yeah.
Here's another interesting item. Zionsville does not have a city ordained by ordinance historic district,
No.
which I find interesting as
They've
well.
got a village historic district.
Yes, but
They-
it means nothing.
Main Street, I think is the only thing really.
So that means nothing.
That may be why they're tearing down the old and building new.
So,
Very right.
we have a motion then. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?